Why did David Foster Wallace spend years on his novels? Why did he spend months of working 8 hours a day just to release one essay or one short story? And one of my favorite quotes from Wallace is when he was talking about what's writing really about. And what he said is that the difference between me and other writers is that I have had way more time to sit with my drafts, that it's all just a numbers game. And today I'm going to walk you guys through the process and show you the evolution of drafts in literature. And we're going to be looking today at an early draft of Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian and a paragraph or two, and then comparing it to the final product. And writing is not about coming up with good ideas, because all you guys out there can come up with a great idea for a novel, an essay, or a short story and belt out a first draft that's good for a first draft. But the magic is in the rewriting. Now, one of the authors behind me who is legendary was finishing their books within a year. Don DeLillo would spend years rewriting. Same with McCarthy, Wallace, Murakami, Ishiguro, Frank Herbert. Those are some of the people I can see right now in the camera. And this is what separates them from people like Stephen King, who releases about a book a year. And what separates me from other YouTubers is that I am here daily, everybody. And if you are looking for daily content on David Foster Wallace and the other greatest books and authors of all time, please subscribe to the channel. Look at the playlist down below for more content on David Foster Wallace. I have a huge series going. I'm planning for decades to continue content on Wallace, so I would love to have you with me. Anyway, so let's look at a quote from Wallace here about the importance of rewriting. And the interviewer asks him, hey, do you rewrite so much to get a natural voice, to make it sound normal? And Wallace's response is that, quote, but very often that 10 times of rewriting is meant to serve as a kind of mimesis. I don't find that fiction is meant to be read out loud. Fiction is meant to be read inwardly, to march along with people's mental circuitry. And the voice we hear in our heads is very different from our larynx sound. And so what Wallace is saying here is that he's working on mimesis. He's working and flowing through this form of representation. And the natural voice of an author is not something that you speak out loud. It's not the voice of David Foster Wallace. It's getting into the head of these characters. And when you write a first draft, you're not in the head of your characters. You're in your own head. For instance, when you meditate, especially if you're doing like vision quests, that's a better way to put this. If you're like thinking about like your life plans and doing visualization, Jungian active meditation, the stuff that comes up for the first few minutes, you are just supposed to disregard it. That's what all the great teachers say. That's just your ego talking. But eventually, if you go down enough in the stream and kind of enter a hypnotic state, that's where the real images and thoughts and ideas come from. And the same actually is true with divergent thinking. And what that means is, like, let's say you have a problem. Let's say you're an addict or you have a problem in your business. Divergent thinking would say, I want you to write out a list of 100 different things you can do to solve this problem in your life or in your business. And most of the time, the first 20 or 30 are absolute crap. They're the logical solutions. But the later ones force you to think from like a subjective perspective and these different modalities of thought that you wouldn't ever do. And most of the time, we have this tunnel vision within our reality and we're functioning in it. And we have to do divergent thought to be able to see the other perspectives. And the same goes with writing. As you're writing a character, as you're grappling with trying to present this authentic voice and melt it into the setting and the mood and the tone and mesh it with the other characters and polarize it in a certain way, that sounds like a lot. Did you hear everything I just said? It's a lot to do at a masterful level. And it's really going to take years. And if you are a beginner, then you have a long ways to go. It takes years for the masters to be able to pull this off. And I'm not saying that you should spend 10 years doing this, but it's something that you always have to be working on and trusting your instinct. Saying one draft, two drafts, three drafts is enough is absolutely wrong. What I mean by a new draft is a total reworking of every single sentence, every single idea, and a re-examination of all of it. Maybe you don't change everything, but you try to change everything and you think everything through at a very thorough level. Sometimes taking maybe days or weeks just on a passage or on a scene, trying to get it right. And you might do that 5, 6, 7 times in the process before you even send it off to an editor. Then you do it all over again with an editor. And if that doesn't sound like very much fun for you, then maybe you're not cut out to be a great writer. Maybe you're meant to be a genre writer, or a writer who, gets published in small journals, and you're a writer. If you write, you're a writer. But it's like playing basketball with your friends, If you go play basketball on the weekends at the gym or at the court, You play basketball, you're a basketball player, but you're not in the NBA. And what's the difference between you and the guys in the NBA? First of all, they had genetic talent, but most of the time they put a ton of hard work in. When you hear about what Jordan and Kobe did to become great, it's insane. And what they did do, actually, just to use that analogy with them, is that they actually focused. I heard Kobe interviewed the other day. He said he focused on one aspect of his game at a time. Like he would master his jump shot. He would master ball handling or like all these different things, and then he would move on. And I could say that that could be a very good strategy for writers also. Focus on one of these things, one of these aspects, on dialogue, on characterization, on setting, on your style, on your punctuation, and take the time to get that down. And if you did that for a couple years and didn't focus on publishing or becoming anything or even working on these crazy drafts, then you can move into all this and be functioning at a high level and not have to learn on the way. Because what most writers are doing as a writer is like juggling 10 different skills at once. All these different things I just said, and you're needing to perform at a high level or have these deficiencies in the novel, then you're like, do I need to master these? Instead, why not raise those skills up and then start to perform? And obviously, just you should be writing and publishing because you don't want to be shelled up and scared. But that's the mentality you need to have. Like, this is the main goal right now. My goal is not to make money. My goal is to be able to have the writing ability to create these authentic worlds and these authentic characters. Sorry, I had to turn the light down. Feels like I'm getting blasted in the eye for some reason right now. So now I want us to do an analysis of the first paragraph of 2 of Blood Meridian. And the draft that we're going to look at today is the 4th draft, everyone. You heard it here, and it's not as good as the later draft. And so we're going to see some of these changes in action. And this is the start of Blood Meridian. It starts, see the child. He is pale and thin. He wears a thin and ragged linen shirt. He strokes a scullery fire. Outside lie dark turned fields with rags of snow and darker woods beyond that yet keep wolves. His folk are known for hewers of wood and drawers of water, but in truth his father is a school teacher, an Irish school teacher. No, we don't need one. We might use a one-handed paper hanger, but we don't need no Irish school teacher. He has a sister in this world, somewhere that he will not see again. She's been sent to live with a relative in the North Carolina since the mother died. His father lies deep in drink. Then if we compare the same amount of lines to the final draft of Blood Meridian, see the child. He is pale and thin. He wears a thin and ragged linen shirt. He stokes a scullery fire. Same start, but now we turn a little bit. Outside lie dark turned fields with rags of snow and darker woods beyond that harbor yet a few last wolves. His folk are known for hewers of wood and drawers of water, but in truth, his father has been a schoolmaster. This is where we're about to make a change. He lies in drink. He quotes from poets whose names are now lost. The boy crouches by the fire and watches him. Night of your birth, 33. The Leonids, they were called. God, how the stars did fall. I looked for blackness, holes in the heavens, the dipper stove. Right there, we just witnessed years of transformation. We saw the addition of the father quoting from poets whose names are now lost. He didn't kind of go on the rant about the father being a schoolmaster. This kind of third-person omnipotent meta thing that he was doing disappears. Night of your birth, 33. We're jumping forward in time. We leave all the sister stuff behind. We're identifying the character in the moment with the age. And actually, if you know when the Leonids fell, then you actually take us to the year of the story. And we feel the darkness. I looked for blackness, holes in the heaven. This is good writing. This is the transformation, but this didn't happen overnight. But this is the potential I'm trying to show you guys that can happen when you start to take revision seriously. That first draft we read from McCarthy, like that earlier draft, that's nothing impressive. Well, it's impressive. It's good. But what we just read is legendary. A lot of what you guys are writing is good. A lot of what I'm writing is good. I'm trying to take it to that legendary level. I'm not here. I'm documenting the process here. I'm not a master teacher. I'm not a master writer, everybody. I'll be the first to tell you that. I'm here to walk with you guys on this journey. And this is where I think that we need to go because this is how everyone else went. I don't think taking some random path through the woods, the individualistic path that maybe a couple people throughout history, used, but they maybe ended up crazy or weird, like Kafka or Fyodor or Nietzsche. We don't need to go with them. And they revised a ton too. Show me a writer who didn't spend years revising their novels full time, and I'll show you someone who isn't actually a legendary person, who's not going to make it in the canon in the long run. With fiction, with poetry, that's something else. With poetry, it can be much more inspirational. You don't have to do as much revision unless you're doing very complicated things. But we're talking about fiction, and the bar is higher. You are now competing. I hate to use the word competing, but when I read you, I am forced to compare you to all these guys on my shelf and ladies. Just how basketball players had to compete not with the people from 1940, but they with all the skills acclimated all the way until the present moment. And what that means for you is that you're going to have to make a bigger sacrifice than them. You're going to have to put in more time. And I think that's why a lot of writers are struggling today, because they're seeing the sacrifice and there's so many dopamine hits that you can get elsewhere. And the dopamine hits that you get from a good writing piece are little to none. You could do video essays on like Star Wars and like make a bunch of money and get attention and pull some like nerdy chick, and or you could live in poverty and like go after this literary fiction dream and hope that you're talented and that what you're doing is correct and that someone actually notices you. For the people who are choosing the second path, I can commend you. I'm trying to take that path with you. I'm not going 100% extreme with it, but for the people who are, I'm supporting you, and I hope one day to be able to talk about your books and have them on the shelf.